If everyone would please take your seats, we're going to get started with our meeting. Please take your seats. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
System was great. Hey, it could have been way worse situation. No, we've been figuring it out today. Yeah. Orange and black. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:05 p.m. on Tuesday, April the 28th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting of the Peoria City Council to order. I'd also like to welcome everyone here in our historic council chambers, as well as our listening audience on cable channel 22 and on YouTube. I want to kind of warn everybody that there is a memorial taking place outside. It's called the Workers' Memorial. And it takes place from 6 o'clock p.m. to 6:30 p.m. tonight. And they're going to do a 21-gun salute. So if you hear some shooting outside the windows, that's what it is, okay?
We don't have to duck, huh?
Right.
You hear that?
As long as it's outside, right? Okay.
Dive under your desk.
Madam Clerk, the council mics are open. Please call the roll. Okay.
Mayor Ali,
Here.
Councilmember Allen,
Present.
Councilmember Carmona,
Here.
Councilmember Sear,
Here.
Councilmember Gordon Young,
Present.
Councilmember Jackson,
Here.
Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Euler,
Here.
Councilmember Riggenbach,
Here.
Councilmember Velpula, Councilmember Vespa.
Here.
Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Please join me, everyone, and stand for a moment of silent prayer or silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk.
We are now at proclamations.
We have 4 proclamations tonight. I've asked council members to help with the reading of those proclamations. The first proclamation recognizes Municipal Clerks Week. And representing will be, who do we have representing? Clerk Cole and Clerk Bonds.
And we also have our Deputy Amanda Hildy.
And our Deputy Clerk. Thank you. Reading the proclamation, Councilmember Euler.
Whereas the office of the municipal clerk serves communities worldwide and is one of the oldest professions in public service, and whereas municipal clerks provide a vital link between community members, local governing bodies, and government agencies at all levels, ensuring transparency, accessibility, and accountability in government operations. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, providing equitable service to all residents while maintaining the integrity of official records and legislative processes. And whereas the Office of the Municipal Clerk serves as the primary information hub and official record keeper for municipalities, particularly in facilitating city council meetings and ensuring the accuracy and accessibility of public records. And whereas municipal clerks continuously seek to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of their offices through ongoing professional development, including education programs, seminars, workshops, and engagement with state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Now, therefore, Rita Ali, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, does hereby recognize May 3rd through May 9th as Municipal Clerks Week in Peoria, Illinois, dated this 28th day of April, 2026.
Well, we know that the city of Peoria cherishes our municipal clerks, and we couldn't do our work without you. And it's not just what you do in these meetings, but what you do every day behind the scenes. And I know it's a lot. So thank you for your service. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Ali, and thank you, Council, for this recognition. It really means a great deal to our office. Much of the city clerk's office work happens behind the scenes, but it's foundational to transparent, accountable local government and service to the Peoria residents. We're especially proud of our small but mighty team, Chief Deputy Clerk Trina Bonds, Deputy Clerk Courtney Coe, Records Coordinator Ian Monk, myself, Deputy Clerk Amanda Hildy, and our fearless leader, City Clerk Stephanie Tarr, because each of us plays a vital role to the daily operations of the office. We hear one word a lot in these chambers, collaboration, and we hold that as a core attribute with staff, elected officials, and the citizens of Peoria. Together, we help maintain the impartial bridge between the city as an organization, City Council, and the citizens we serve, and it is an honor to continue to do this work for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next proclamation recognizes the Scripps Spelling Bee Regional Competition Central Illinois champion. And we have Issa Zaid, Spelling Bee champion and 7th grade student at Peoria Academy. Thank you for being here, Issa. And our own Randall Yelverton, the Executive Director of Peoria Public Library. Reading the proclamation will be Councilmember Vespa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas every year, students from across the country in all walks of life compete for an opportunity to qualify for the Scripps National Spelling Bee, America's longest-running educational competition, and whereas students compete in school spelling bees with winners advancing to regional competitions that decide the field for the national competition, and whereas on March 28th, 2026, 55 students from 7 counties competed in the 2026 Scripps National Spelling Bee Regional Competition for Central Illinois, which was hosted by the Peoria Public Library, along with partners from the City of Peoria, Peoria County Government, and Peoria Public Schools at the Gateway Building in Peoria. And whereas, after more than 3 hours and 15 rounds, Issa Zaid, a 13-year-old 7th grade student from Peoria Academy, emerged as the winner, besting the runner-up after 5 one-on-one rounds and clinching it on the word ojigvul. That's, I think I got that. And whereas on May 26th through May 28th, Issa will represent his school and community as he competes at the Scripps National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C., and whereas the regional competition for Central Illinois allowed local students to showcase their talents and passion for learning, and Issa's accomplishments reflect his academic excellence while bringing pride to our city. Now, therefore, I, Rita Ali, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, do hereby recognize and celebrate the outstanding achievements of Issa Zaid as the Scripps Spelling Bee Regional Competition Central Illinois champion in Peoria, Illinois, dated this 28th day of April, 2026.
Woo! Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor, and everyone in the City Council. I'd like to thank everyone who helped me on this journey. such as my mom, my sister, and my family, for keeping me on track. I'd like to thank my school, Peoria Academy, for helping me getting this position for me in the regional competition. I'd like to thank the Peoria Public Library and everyone there for preparing the regional spelling bee. And again, I'd like to thank everyone here at the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Issa. Mr. Yelverton, did you want to say anything?
Just very briefly, we want to thank those who helped us, our sponsors and our partners, including City of Peoria, Peoria County Government, Peoria Public Schools, and our media partner, WMBD, WYZZ. They are going to be showing a half-hour presentation of the spelling bee on May 22nd at 6:30 p.m. On WYZZ, and on May 23rd at 11 a.m. on WMBD. We're so proud to have Issa representing us, representing Peoria Academy and the City of Peoria. He did an excellent job. He'll be one of 247 spellers competing at the Scripps National Spelling Bee on May 26th in DC. And as always, thank you to the mayor, the council, and the City of Peoria for your support of Peoria Public Library and its programs. Thank you.
Court, absolutely. And Issa, come forth. I just want you to know that we're all behind you. We will be rooting for you while you're in Washington, D.C. We're so very proud of you, proud that you're representing Peoria, and we know that you're going to do well. You survived 3 hours. 3 hours. And that last word that Councilman Vespa said, I can't even pronounce it. I don't think he could pronounce it. Can you spell that word for us?
Ogival.
And what's it? How do you say it?
Ogival.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, Councilman Vespa. Our next proclamation recognizes 75 years of accredited engineering programs at Bradley University. We have here representing Dr. Chris Mela Cheruvu. We have Dr. Joshua Lower. Is that right? Dr. Carrie Shatler here?
Carrie's not here.
Okay. Dr. Julie Ryer here?
She could make it either.
Okay.
But we do have Ben Jed, our AVP for marketing.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I know I pronounced your name wrong, Dr. Chris. How do you say it?
Malacherevu. You were
Okay,
pretty close.
I'll practice. Thank you. And we have Councilman Carmona sharing the proclamation.
Whereas, when Lydia Moss Bradley founded Bradley Polytechnic Institute in 1897, she brought to life her vision of a school where young people could learn how to do practical things to prepare them for living in the modern world. And whereas, engineering and technology have always played an integral role in the institution, as it was established with 3 central pillars: science, industry, and literature. And its first 2 graduates received institute diplomas in engineering and mechanical arts in 1903. And whereas in 1951, the Accreditation Board of Engineering and Technology, ABET, accredited the medical engineering program at Bradley University, and an accreditation for 5 other engineering and technology programs followed. And whereas for more than 75 years, Bradley engineers have shaped industries, advanced technologies, and embodied the university's commitment to preparing students for meaningful and impactful careers. And whereas, as it commemorates 75 years of ABET-accredited engineering programs, Bradley University remains committed to innovation and continuous improvement as it produces the next generation of engineers and leaders who will build the future. Now, therefore, I, Rita Ali, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, do hereby recognize and celebrate 75 years of accredited engineering programs at Bradley University.
Mayor Ali and the City Council, I want to thank all of you for this wonderful recognition. Science, industry, literature. Those still happen to be some of our guiding posts in this day and age. The form has changed, but the spirit is still the same. And the spirit of Lydia Moss Bradley still lives on with us. You know, one of the most wonderful things about Bradley is the Bradley Engineering especially is that today we are 75 years strong. And the first programs, the full programs actually that got put into place were back in 1945, just at the end of the Second World War. And today, 75 years later, we are 75 years strong, and the Caterpillar College of Engineering and Technology, just like Bradley is strong, just like the city of Peoria is strong, and just like the bond between Bradley and Peoria is strong. So thank you very much again, and I'd invite Joshua Lure to say a few words, and also Ben.
Mayor Ali, in the public, we have a really wonderful showcase. We have a capstone open house on May 1st from 8:30 to 3 p.m. The public's welcome to come to see all these amazing capstone projects that our engineers, business students have done. It's free and open to the public. It's about 300 plus students and about 75 to 80 projects, which really these projects impact, as Dean Chris said, they impact our city. We work with a lot of small, medium-sized, and even large-sized businesses in our region. So we're really proud of that. And that's one our favorite day. I'm going to turn over to Mr. Ben Jed.
Okay.
Again, thank you all very much for the support of our engineering program. As Dean Maltrou said, what's good for Bradley, or what's good for Peoria is good for Bradley, and we really appreciate the support. So Chris has one more.
I know, Mayor Ali, that you're also an alum. So today I invite you to be a part of the Caterpillar College of Engineering and Technology, and I'm just welcoming you as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. And our last proclamation recognizes the Manual High School boys basketball state champions. We have Marvin Jordan, who's the head coach of the Manual High School boys basketball team. And I don't think he's here with his bow tie today. Okay. Reading that proclamation will be another Manual High School alum, Councilwoman Bernice Gordon-Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas Peoria has a rich history of basketball prominence that dates back to the beginning of high school sports in Illinois. And whereas on March 14th, 2026, the Manual High School boys basketball team renewed the tradition, capturing the 2025-26 IHSA Class 2-8 state championship with a 60-55 victory over Quincy Notre Dame. And whereas the Rams' impressive win clinched the team's first state title in 29 years, its sixth in program history, and a state-leading 18th state trophy overall. And whereas, guided by head coach Marvin Jordan and his coaching staff, the fifth-ranked Rams accumulated 25 wins and 9 losses during the 2025-26 season. And whereas the Rams won their sectional final and super sectional matchups by an average of 25 points per game, on their way to making their 25th state finals appearance in program history. And whereas the city of Peoria is proud to honor these student athletes for all of your hard work, dedication, teamwork, and perseverance that you demonstrated throughout the season, both on and off the court. Now, therefore, Rita Ali, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, do hereby celebrate the accomplishments of the Manual High School boys basketball state champions in Peoria, Illinois, dated this 28th day of April 2026 AD. It's great to be a Ram.
Coach Jordan.
Again, I want to speak on behalf of the team here. I want to say thank you for the recognition from you yourself, Mayor, and this amazing City Council. And again, none of this could be possible without the parents who raise these kids each day, and the parents for trusting, the coaching staff for, putting in the work and getting these guys to where they needed to be. So again, we want to take our hats off to the parents as well also. But again, thank you, Mayor and City Council, for the recognition for sure.
You're very welcome. Can we have just a quick, your names and either end? Can you say your names, please?
Yes. I have assistant coach here, DeMarco Grayer. Assistant coach Ron Ingram here. I have Jaquan Brown. I have Johnny Ray Sims. I have Josiah. We have Coach Paul here. We got Reggie. I got Rico, Taj, Ball Boy Timmy, J Mel here. I got Anarias behind me. Detavion here, LaDon. We got another ball boy, TJ. I got Josh here. We got Percy, and we have Darikis on the end here. Did I miss anybody? Is everybody here?
We got everybody.
And I got Coach Paul.
I watched all of your championship games and rooted for you. I'm so very proud. As a Manual alum as well, so very proud of you. And you represented Peoria so very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not award on purpose. There you go. It's prepared. It ain't the award. We lose two. Three. We just lost 3 council members. We'll just wait a few minutes. We should have been out there. Well, let's go ahead and get our minutes approved. Madam Clerk,
We're at approval at the minutes.
Councilmember Regenbach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the joint City Council and Town Board meeting held April 14th, 2026 as printed.
Seconded by Councilmember Kelly. Any questions? Please cast your ballots. Motion passes unanimously. You're being bad. We got one back. Madam Clerk?
We are at consent agenda items. Item number 26-086, a communication with a request to approve the amendments to the Springdale Cemetery Management Authority bylaws. Item number 26-087, a communication with a request to concur with the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff to adopt an ordinance rezoning property from a Class I2 district to a Class R4 district for the property located at 1401 Northeast Adams Street. Item number 26-088, a communication with the request to adopt an ordinance amending an existing special use ordinance number 14726 in the Class CN district for an auto repair shop to add auto sales for the property located at 2723 Southwest Adams Street. Item number 26-089, a communication with a request to concur with the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff to adopt an ordinance amending an existing official development plan, ordinance number 13361, as amended in a Class N1 district to allow pickleball and sand volleyball courts, bandstand, maintenance building, off-street parking, signage, and site improvements for the property bound by Main Street, Clarissa Court, Bradley Avenue, and the alley east of Cooper Street, being within the campus boundary of Bradley University with an address of 1501 West Bradley Avenue and primarily bounded by Main Street, the alley east of Cooper Street, Bradley Avenue, Fredonia Avenue, Duryea Place, St. James Street, University Street, Borland Avenue, Wyndham Street, and Garfield Avenue. Item number 26-090, a communication with a request to concur with the recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission and staff to adopt an ordinance approving a special use in a Class R3 district for a short-term rental for the property located at 2717 North Lehman Road. Item number 26-091, a reappointment by Mayor Ali to the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District Board of Trustees with a request to concur for Don Knox. And that concludes the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any items to remove from consent? Can I get a motion to approve consent? Moved by Councilmember Sears, seconded by Councilmember Carmona. Any discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
We are now at regular business items. Item number 26-092, a communication to approve a resolution of the City of Peoria commemorating the placement of the Centennial Time Capsule.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We are coming upon the new time capsule that we'll be placing in. I'm going to ask our Strategic Communications Director, Stacy Peterson, to come forward and talk about what we're planning on doing and what's going in.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. It's been kind of a whirlwind in the last few months, but yes, tonight we're going to have our resolution to place our 2126 time capsule. Tonight, it's something a little bit rare. It's not just a ceremony, but it's actually a conversation across generations. This time capsule came about kind of as a fluke. The discovery of the 1897 time capsule last August, which we opened in November, caused a lot of conversation. And when we opened that time capsule, not only were the artifacts inside very, very well preserved, because of that preservation, it allowed us to have a lot of conversations about what they left behind, what the community was like then, and reflect on what's happened in 128 years since they placed that time capsule in the cornerstone. That moment actually became the spark for what we're doing here tonight. Before we talk a little more about the time capsule, I need to recognize the members of the time capsule committee, and we've got a couple here tonight. It was the committee that helped bring the event to realization and also helped collect the items that are in the time capsule that we're going to place next week. So in addition to Bradley University Special Collections, we also had the Peoria Riverfront Museum, we had Central Illinois Landmarks Foundation, and we also had members of the Peoria Historical Society. And we have two members here tonight, Liz Kleiss, Executive Director, and President Ed Berry behind me. Thank you for being here tonight. Not only did they help contribute by collecting mementos from individuals, organizations, previous Detente winners, They've also been storing our artifacts. And one of the artifacts that was in the 1897 time capsule was a buckeye placed there by John Ryan in 1897. This was such a tangible connection to the past that it is a tradition that we are carrying forward for the next time capsule. So in the next time capsule, we are placing a buckeye. We are also planting a buckeye tree on the property of City Hall by the parking lot. So in 100 years, when they open up the time capsule, that buckeye tree should be very robust and hopefully not dropping a million buckeyes all over our parking lot. We'll probably all be in space cars by then, so it won't matter. For those of you who want to take our history and get a better look of our history, I encourage you all to look at the time capsule display that's on the second floor. For a month, in conjunction with the Hidden Peoria tours that are happening this weekend, we have some of those artifacts on display. The buckeye is there, a rivet is there, and these are items that are only going to come out around this time of year because it's in conjunction with the incorporation of our city, which was April 21st. And then after a month, they will go back into storage and we'll probably see them in another year. For those who would like to witness this and see our historic building, they can come to City Hall this Saturday from 11 to 5 and take part in the Hidden Peoria tour. Our location is free, and they can learn about the other locations that are also on that tour. Some of the items in there include mementos from then Mayor John Warner, who happened to be the first mayor to sit in the mayor's seat of our then new City Hall. This City Hall was actually our third City Hall, and Mayor Allen, who preceded Mayor Warner, was the mayor and contractor of this building. But by the time this building was completed, it was Mayor Warner, who also had served as postmaster. He served like 10 terms for the city council. He founded our police department and our fire department. He was a very formidable person. He worked in his father's grain business. He worked in steamboats. He traveled from Peoria all the way down to New Orleans and back. And so several months ago, we started a conversation with our friends at the Historical Society because they had a treasure that they wanted to know if we would display. And it was a portrait commissioned by the family of John Warner in 1878. And we got it installed last Friday. And so now he's installed in our council chambers on a permanent loan from the Peoria Historical Society. We're very grateful for this arrangement and happy that John Warner is back in the building in which he held office. Before I conclude, I do want to invite everybody to the sealing of our time capsule. So we do have the time capsule, it's ready to go, but the last thing we have to do is seal it. So we're going to put it back in the cornerstone where the 1897 time capsule was located. We're going to have the same stone carvers who removed the 1897 time capsule, put this time capsule in the cornerstone, and we're going to seal it on site. We have a beautiful time capsule that has been constructed by Kryling Roofing, and the tinsmith will be here to seal it up and then place it. So it's Tuesday, May 5th, 10:30 in the morning. The public is invited to come and witness that. Again, this weekend, City Hall tours. And then for the next month, treasures from the 1897 time capsule will be on display. And all of these things come in celebration of American 250, but also in celebration of our history, which is why we are here tonight to celebrate the 2126 time capsule. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for this opportunity to celebrate our history together.
Thank you, Stacy, for all your amazing work on this. I know it's been a labor of love. But
It has been. I've enjoyed every minute of it, Mayor. Thank you.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk?
We need a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. We need to get a motion. Moved by Councilmember Carmona, seconded by Councilmember Gordon Young. Any discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you again, Stacy. Madam Clerk?
Item number 26-093, a communication with the request to adopt an ordinance proposing the creation of the Twin Towers Place Special Service Area in the city of Peoria, Illinois, and providing for a public hearing and other procedures in connection therewith.
Council Hayes, you want to introduce this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a number of special service areas in the community, and we have received a request from the Twin Towers Place Condominium Association to undertake a special service area. The Twin Towers, the towers part is a residential neighborhood, much like any of our residential neighborhoods throughout the city, but instead of streets and connections by sidewalks, they're all connected by elevators and different floors of a multi-story building. But it's a homeowners association and neighborhood, just like many of our residents who live in traditional neighborhoods. It's one of the pioneering projects of downtown Peoria's residential reality, something we're trying to grow. But that homeowners association has fallen into a series of capital issues that have challenged them. There was a fire a few years ago that required them to basically deplete their capital reserves, addressing the fire issues, fire code updates. They had to replace their fire systems, both suppression and detection. That is extremely expensive for a multi-story residential building. So it has put a number of other maintenance issues on hold, and they need to address some of those. We had been addressing some of those with the Twin Towers Place as it related to their obligations for our shared parking facility below that association space. But other capital needs include exterior parking paving, additional fire safety system upgrades, and additional electrical system upgrades to support those updated fire systems. They have done a budget for a capital improvement program there, and they're asking for the city to provide up to $2.5 million worth of funding through the special service area mechanism. That mechanism may include city financing through bonds issued by the city, but backed by the residential property owners' property taxes. Special service areas create debt on the area that the special services are provided that is superior to any other debt other than the regular property taxes. So if the city decided to use that financial mechanism, it would be a very secure loan. It would have priority even over the mortgages that are in place in many of those residences. So the city would be in a very secure position if the council entertained that and approved that. That being said, the special service area process would be undertaken by the city council. The first step is this ordinance that the council would be asked to pass tonight that would establish a public hearing. We're required under the statutory mechanism of special service areas to give notice to all the people within this special service area, as well as publishing notice in the paper. Then we hold a special service area public hearing. That would be at the city council meeting in July 14th. And then 60 days after that, the city council could entertain whether to establish a special service area. What staff will be working on, if the city council engages in this process between now and the public hearing, is refining the idea about the financing mechanism to determine whether it will be a city-funded bond or some other financing mechanism. We'll have a detailed special service agreement between us and the homeowners association about how the money's going to be expended. It'll be expended similar to a construction draw process, where as the project is proceeding, monies would be dispersed. And then over time, the bond payments, the annual bond payments, would be collected through the property tax system from all the residential property owners. And so that is the basic structure that staff's proposing. Because of the size of the debt, the $2.5 million, staff would be recommending a 20-year bond if we're going to use city bonds, and that's our most likely recommendation to council, although we are exploring private financing. Therefore, each of the property tax bills on these individual properties would pay according to their relative equalized assessed value. In addition, that area is within a tax increment financing district, and we would discount each unit owner's annual bill by the amount of TIF increment that unit is producing on an annual basis. This would not reduce the debt significantly, but it would be about a 20 to 30% reduction on some of the units. Some of these units are valued today at a place where it's not creating TIF increment, and those individuals wouldn't receive the discount. So it would only be the actual revenues that are being received parcel by parcel. The finance director is really happy with me coming up with this mechanism because he gets to do all the maths on this. But he's already created a preliminary spreadsheet for that purpose so that we can share with the residents, and we intend to meet with them over the coming weeks so that they understand the reality of their end of this bargain. And then the city can undertake a process between now and through the public hearing, a process of making inquiry, making sure that the council has all the information they require. We'll be responding to inquiry from the affected property owners and using the public hearing process to make sure that any concerns from the public are addressed through that public hearing process. Today's process, again, is just establishing the public hearing. It does not commit the council nor the residences at the condo association to moving forward. It's just how we start the process and entertain and fully explore and develop those ideas for consideration by the council in the future. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have, and I know that a number of the council members I've been having conversations with already this week, so I'm looking forward to the discussion this evening. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you for your presentation, Council Hayes. You've answered a number of questions that I had. I guess I want to hear it again, is that a yes vote tonight does not lock us in to moving forward with the SSA. A yes vote tonight is our commitment to the public hearing and the process, or am I wrong? Please clarify.
The only thing the city council is committed to from tonight's positive vote would be to hold a public hearing on this issue on July 14th. All of the other matters to be determined will be subject to future consideration by the city council.
Okay, that's what I wanted for you to restate.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. And I want to hear from Councilmember Vespa and then Councilmember Euler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I own property in the proposed special service area, so I will be abstaining from this vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Euler?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'll be abstaining as well due to conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Gordon Young?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a clarifying question, Corporation Counsel. You mentioned that the public hearing would be listed in the paper. One of the concerns that many people have expressed is that they weren't aware of a public hearing. Can you speak to like what paper that will be listed in, or how would they be notified?
So the city is required under the statute to use a paper of general circulation within the jurisdiction, and predominantly we utilize the Peoria Journal Star for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Allen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Corporation Counsel Hayes, for answering many of my questions. I just want to reiterate some of those just for our listening public. So the matter at hand is us considering a special service assessment specifically for the Twin Towers, not the plaza. Is that correct?
Correct. The structure has two primary elements. One is the two towers that are devoted to residential, and then the other area is the four-story plaza, which is not subject to the special service area request and not part of the city staff's recommendation for action. The plaza has been addressing its capital requirements through immediate assessments and has not requested assistance from the city as the place has. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Can you speak to the city's responsibility to the tower, specifically the parking garage, and maybe any other responsibilities that the city does have?
Yes, well, the agreement regarding that structure and the shared space takes a number of readings to understand. I think I understand it completely because I've read it a number of times. It's shared space, so the different structural elements are separated out, and different parties have responsibilities for maintenance and upkeep. So the flat parking structure, the flat deck of the parking deck and the ceilings are the city's responsibility. And then between the plaza and the place, they have responsibility for the structural elements of the building. And so the capital issues related to the parking deck repairs for the place, the towers, is primarily the structural elements of that building that require some significant maintenance. There's no perceived danger at this point in time about the structure, but these maintenance issues can lead to problems in the future, so they need to be addressed. And so that is a significant issue. The space also is divided up because there are some units in the parking structure that are actually owned by individuals, most of which reside in the residential structure. And so there's a few quirks there. But in general, the flat space is maintained by the city, and the structural elements are maintained either by the plaza or the place, depending on what's up above. Thank you.
Sounds like that agreement is clear as mud, but I appreciate you breaking it down for me. We approve SSAs before. Most recently, we approved to raise the SSA at Westlake Shopping Center. Can you give us some examples of us doing this in a residential setting?
Well, there were significant issues on Lamont, and the property owners along Lamont Avenue decided that they wanted to provoke some city repairs and upgrades. And the city assessed where its budget was and what it could address, and had a dialogue with them. And they wanted more than the city was prepared to commit to under any of our capital planning. And so we agreed to a project that included some city-funded stormwater project, but also an overlay that was funded at least in part by the residents. So we brokered a deal with them, shared some of the costs, and developed a way to help that short residential area. I think it was just 14 residences, but that was one of the residential SSAs that we did. The SSA device is widely used throughout the state for residential subdivisions to fund the initial capital for a subdivision, such as sewers, streets, sidewalks, lighting. Those types of things are often funded by SSAs. It hasn't been as popular or widely used here. We do have a commercial area SSA that's quite large out on the north side of town in the Grand Prairie area, where both the sports complex SSA and the Holiday Inn SSA has devoted a significant amount. The city borrowed $6.9 million for that, for their contribution, and then those bonds are being served by the revenues that come out of that SSA over time. There's a number of years left on that, but we fund that on an annual basis through revenues raised from the sales tax in that SSA area, as well as from the property taxes of the property owners throughout that SSA. And so there's a number of different uses for SSAs. Obviously, the more recent Westlake and somewhat similar Portillo's SSA, those are SSAs that fund elements of those commercial operations, the maintenance and upkeep of those areas. And so those are the uses of SSAs that we've seen in our community.
Yeah, thank you. And I recall when I was first elected in 21, I remember meeting with the constituents of Lamont Street. And I know former 4th District City Councilman Jim Montalago, who's our current treasurer, I know they met with him. And then when the maps changed, Councilman Greb took over, and we were able to get that project over the finish line with that SSA. So that is a good illustration of the benefit of that. When it comes to the city's liability, you know, when people hear $2.5 million, it's not a drop in the bucket. Can you speak to what is the city's liability, worst case scenario, if this doesn't work out for the constituents of the Twin Towers?
One of the reasons why SSAs are popular, both with communities like ours, as well as residents is that it offers them a way to finance over a long period of time significant capital. But there has to be a debt issue in order to do that, whether it's funded through a city general obligation bond or an alternative revenue bond. The benefit of this type of mechanism is that the revenue source is extremely secure. Under Illinois law, an SSA has priority over all debts and is treated similarly to property taxes. And so it is of the most collectible type of security because it actually steps in front of any of the mortgage debt that might be on the underlying property as far as priority if there's a default. And so in the short term, through an SSA mechanism, if one of the units over there went into foreclosure, which is not an unusual issue in a large residential subdivision, the rest of the participants in the SSA would fund that short-term issue. Over a longer term, if there was a foreclosure of that unit, the city's debt would be a priority. Worst case scenario, if there was a large number of defaults and foreclosures, the city would have priority over any other debt. So it's quite secure as it relates to any debt instrument. And the payment rate on our property taxes as a municipality is about 98%. So, it is seen by the lending industry as a very secure method of financing capital improvements to property.
And I know you weren't around the horseshoe during the conversation of the Pure Marquette and that ultimate decision, but is it fair to say that this is a different circumstance of issuing bonds than the Pure Marquette project, or maybe City Manager Yurt could speak to that?
This is 100% different. This is going to be entirely paid back by the property owners. The pier and the structure of the pier debt was a grant from the city that was where the city issued bonds and granted that to the developer to redo the Pure Marquette Hotel. There's no grant here. This is an obligation of all the property owners in the Twin Tower Place in order to pay that debt back.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Corporation Counsel Hayes. That is all the questions I have for the day. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome, Council Hayes. Many of the residential examples that you provided spoke to infrastructure, support for infrastructure, but this is a structure, right? This is a facility that they're talking about investing in. I guess I have to ask the obvious question, why wouldn't they just go get a bank loan?
So what's been shared with me is that they have a relationship with a bank, but the bank has lost appetite because the association itself they don't have the ability like the city does to create a debt instrument that has the level of priority that the SSA debt would have. Because any debt that they would establish outside of the SSA would be behind all the mortgage debt over there. And so that can be a very thin or non-existent asset, so to speak, because you're looking at what's left over after all the mortgage lenders, if there was a default, collect. So a lender's not going to look at that as a collectible source. And so I think they've run out of that opportunity. I will tell you that they've done some significant projects over the last few years related to that fire and have kind of run through their traditional options. But because of this process, we are investigating whether private lender might be available.
Okay.
But they would step into this environment of using the SSA vehicle to sort of have this super priority that is not available in a traditional finance setting and is not an area, given the amount of debt that the association is looking to take on in order to accomplish all these capital issues that the lending industry has responded favorably to so far.
Okay.
That might change with the SSA mechanism, but it's not available to them right now.
Okay, and I think I asked this question behind the scenes before, but why not a TRIVDA loan?
So the TRIVDA loan requires 20% subsidized housing or more, depending on the loan recipe that's being utilized. So it's not an available option in this neighborhood at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Carmona?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Corporation Counsel, this is quite a different process from the SSAs at the commercial areas that we just passed. Could you explain a little bit about how the vote is tallied with the residents there once this goes down the road and you have to get a majority of owners to agree to it?
So the SSA law, under Illinois law presently, if the city council moves forward with the public hearing, the residents within 60 days of the public hearing that are opposed to this would have to gather a petition in order to stop it. And so the city council has the discretion to establish it subject to this petition process. That petition process operates if the 51%, if more than 50% of the owners and more than 50% of the residents within the SSA sign a petition opposing it, then the SSA the process stops and can't be reintroduced for 2 years. So there's no court intervention. It's just if the valid petition is filed with the clerk within 60 days of the public hearing, we have to stop the process. So they nickname these types of things backdoor referendums. I'm not sure that necessarily fits this mechanism because it's a little different than what many other people address, but the city council has the prerogative to move it forward subject to that petition process in opposition. There's no requirement for there to be a vote to move forward. There's no requirement to gather signatures or a petition drive to get this approved. City council has that discretion, but the residents have the ability to stop the council through that petition process.
I see. When I was reading on our website, it made it seem like the residents there had to reach a consensus to make this go forward and be applied with 50% plus one vote. That's why I'm asking.
That's not the process, but when we did the Lamont process, we polled the residents to get their assessment. There was no homeowners association there. So we're relying on the homeowners association to state the will of the majority of the homeowners there. And they've indicated that they've done that work and are continuing that work and that they're moving forward on behalf of the homeowners association. So we're not engaging in the process that way. I think that I may have the opportunity to meet a number of those people because the homeowners association had asked if we'd go over and do an informational session or whatever, and we'd certainly be willing to do that if we're asked.
Okay, that's it. No further questions for me. I think that obviously if this is something that we allow, you can look it up on our website. It tells you how it works, although I think we might need to update it because it explains it a little bit differently. I know the condition that the Twin Towers are in. It's very unfortunate, and it seems like from everything I've heard today and prior that this is the best way for the Twin Towers to move forward. So I would like to make a motion to approve this as outlined.
Seconded by Councilmember Seer. Any other discussion? Please cast your ballots. Motion passes with 2 abstentions, Euler and Vespa. Madam Clerk?
Item number 26-094, a communication with a request to approve one of the following. A, concur with the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff to adopt an ordinance approving a special use in the Class C1 district for a Class 2 tobacco or alternative nicotine product sales use for the property located at 7802 North University Street, or B, adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 18, Article 14, Section 18-621, existing tobacco retail licenses of the Code of the City of Peoria to reduce the cap on Class 2 tobacco or alternative nicotine product sale use licenses from 14 to 13.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you. I'm going to turn the floor over for the very last time to our Assistant Community Development Director, Lee Allison.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This is a two-part item. Item A is a request to approve a special use for a Class 2 tobacco at 7802 North University. There is currently an open tobacco license that if you approve, this would then allow that applicant to apply for within our license process. The alternative is Part B, where you, if you wish to reduce the number of Class 2 licenses that are currently available from 14 to 13, that would in effect deny the special use request for the 7002 North University site. Happy to answer questions if you have any.
Councilmember Seer?
I don't have any question. I'd just like to make a motion, if that's okay.
You can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Leah, for all your work over the years. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And good luck in retirement. I'm going to date myself a little bit. When I arrived in Peoria in the late 80s, there's a nice little bar that I know some of you guys, I've seen you there, have been there. It's called Chantilly Lace. And it was a kind of a nice area, nice bar to go to. And eventually that business closed down, and I drive many times on North University, and that building used to be a very nice building. Obviously, it doesn't look very nice anymore after 25 years or so of being closed. But right now, we have an opportunity to let a business take their business in that building, and I know you're all seen the agenda. And it was voted 5-1 by the commission, zoning commission, but there's 7 items that they have, the new business will have to take care of to renovate that building. And that's mainly where I'm the most interested in, is this renovation and preserving that building on North University. I am not a big vape fan, but we have this body decided one time to have 14 licenses, to issue 14 licenses. And we had 14 licenses until one business that decided not to renew. So we have a couple of choices here tonight. But my main support for this business, the fact that we have a chance to, number one, renovate a building that's important on University Avenue, Norton University, number one. Number two is for my constituent. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of it, and I don't go over there, but to give them 2 choices of vape shops in the 5th District, I'm okay with. So I move to approve this special use tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Seconded by Councilmember Euler. Any discussion? Councilmember Allen?
Can you all hear me? Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I've been back and forth on this particular item, and I talked to my colleague from the 5th District earlier today, and I did get a chance, that might have been before my time, to frequent that particular bar, but I remember, it's been vacant for a while, and I'm not naive to that fact. But the reason why I struggle with this particular item was when we decided to establish the cap, it was in response to our constituents letting us know that they were frustrated with the number of the standalone tobacco vape outlets in our city. We know when you drive down University, there's a cluster of them, but in general, I think the overall feeling is the city of Peoria is oversaturated with these, and so we established the cap. The petitioner who had the 14th license, who ultimately released it, that created this opportunity for this new applicant, that individual's goal was to create a cigar lounge here in the city of Peoria, addressing a need socially, I think, in our community, not to establish another standalone vape or tobacco shop, which again, our residents are frustrated with. And so knowing what our ideal was for the 14th license and it ultimately didn't materialize, and to replace that now with something that we are doing our best to try to regulate here in our community, I have a hard time with supporting. So I won't be able to support this item A. I do believe that if this is not passed tonight, I will be supporting item B to reduce the cap to 13. As we know, we do have an opportunity if Walgreens or Jewel Osco, whoever wanted to open up shop in Peoria and they wanted to sell tobacco with their offerings, they could, and that's why we have the special use process. But I think that our constituents do not want to see us open up any more of the standalone vape and tobacco licenses, or outlets here in our city. So that's where I'll be standing tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. We have a motion and a second. If there's no more discussion, please cast your ballots. Motion passes with 2 nays, Allen and Gordon Young. Madam Clerk?
Item number 26-095, a communication with a request to receive and file the month ended February 28, 2026, unaudited financial report.
Sorry. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll turn the floor over to our Finance Director, Kyle Craddy.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. In front of you tonight is really the second month of the year. It's kind of a reminder for the council, these first few months of the year, it's a little difficult to kind of get a big picture of what the financial picture looks like, just because of really us trying to finish up completing the previous year. There's a number of expenses and revenues that actually get booked back to the previous year. So there really any kind of fluctuations are not necessarily of a major concern. Right now, our revenues are down 8.8% compared to the anticipated budget. This area in particular, the month of February on our hotel, restaurant, and amusement taxes can get a little skewed because of the shortened month. We seem to get a lot of collections kind of in that rollover few days in March. So those will show up on the March report, which equates for really a majority of what that difference is from budget to actual. On the expense side, we are down 7.1% compared to the budget to date, and up a little bit year over year. Some of that is we had our first year of the license cost for our CAT RMS system that launched back about a month ago. And so that was a substantial cost at the beginning of the year. The only other item of note that I will kind of bring to council's attention within the memo, I did just address, because of kind of how we do year-end close and how governments do modified accrual accounting, for the first few months of the year, you will see the beginning balances on a number of the funds change. That primarily is because as we get revenues in that go towards last year, it's resetting what that amount is as a beginning fund balance for the year. So just kind of wanted to draw council's attention to that. I know it can kind of be, it's one of those quirks of governmental accounting versus maybe how a business does cash accounting, but just wanted to kind of make the council aware of that. And if there's any questions, I'm available for them.
Thank you, Director Craddy. Councilmember Sear.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Director Craddy, for this great timing, great explanation here. But I just want to make sure everybody understands, we have hundreds and maybe thousands of small businesses in Peoria that every month look at their cash flow and really reconcile their books through QuickBooks. And if you own a small business, maybe use that one or some other ones. But it's important because I always have the same question. I want to make sure everybody understand. When you own a small business, at the end of January, example, and you reconcile your books, now the end of your end numbers of January will be the beginning numbers for February, which in the city's bookkeeping records here, I'm glad you explained it again tonight. I mean, it's never or very seldom happened because there's so many moving target in an enterprise like a city. So it's important that my colleagues, number one, and our constituent, especially one that owns small businesses, understand why the numbers are not exactly the same at the end of one month and the beginning of next month. So with that said, on page 9 of 11, at the top of page 9 of 11, you have, and you put this phrase in there every month, I believe. It says the city will need to take extra caution if the current cash flows starts to dip below trend. So extra caution. And I've talked to you before the meeting tonight. The current cash flow is $131 million, correct?
Correct.
And for the month of February, and this is the second lowest in the next 5 years. In the last 5 years, 130 million was the lowest one. So I am concerned. What is your level of concern with our cash flow?
I'm not necessarily concerned at this point. Some of the reduction in cash flow has to do with the expected use of fund balance for capital projects. We, as a city, a lot of times will save money to do projects on a cash basis. And so where I get concerned is where maybe that trend is slipping faster than we anticipated during the budget process. But we have not hit that point yet. And when we do, that will be something that I will bring to the council's attention if I start to notice that dip compared to budget.
As you say in this report, these are unaudited numbers. How are we doing on our 2025 audit?
We are wrapping up field work. We're kind of working right now on our single audit, which is our review of our federal expenditures. Our goal is always to be done by the end of June. Still working through a few parties to get that done, but as of right now, there's nothing major from the review at this point from the auditors.
Thank you, Director Craddy. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move to receive and file.
Seconded by Councilmember Allen. Continued discussion, Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Craddy, this is a February report. It's, to your knowledge, is 2025 completely accounted for by the end of February? Or do we still have some lingering?
We closed off a majority of the expenditures at the end of February. What will still be hanging out in March a little bit is we'll have our final collection of sales taxes from the state of Illinois. So there's probably about another $4.5 million that will come into the general fund as a revenue in March. Every once in a while, we do get some expenditures, especially if it's something from the state of Illinois that still we have to book back. Our standard is 90 days. So the first 90 days after the end of the fiscal year, if there are any expenditures that are material to the financial statements from the previous year, we'll book them back. There isn't a ton that we did in the month of March on the expenditure side. Really, the major difference will be on the revenue side.
Thank you. Are you saying then that we're expecting around $8 million more dollars to be added to 25?
So actually about $4.5 to $5 million is what we expect.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. There's a motion on the floor to receive and file. We have a second. Please cast your ballots. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk?
We are now at unfinished business. We have item number 26-056, a communication with a request to consider the site application for a Class C1 liquor license for the retail sale of alcohol at Midwest USA Incorporated, doing business as King Zone, 2411 North Knoxville Avenue, with a recommendation from the Liquor Commission to deny. And there's a handout from Councilmember Kimona on your desk.
Council Hayes, do you want to speak to
Thank
this?
you, Your Honor. As the council may recall, this had been presented previously. The applicant operates a small grocery store at Knoxville. The 2400 block is just a block and a little bit more south of McClure. When the council took this up, it was deferred by Councilman Carmona. He's had some interaction with the proprietor. There have been some upgrades to the facility, both the facade and the interior elements. So one of the things that Councilman Carmona asked me to do is to undertake putting forward a draft plan of operations. In our code, the council can make a determination on approval of a site for liquor that a plan of operations is required. And so estimating the types of issues that might be addressed through more conditions that we normally place on a license, particularly in response to the police department's concern about a liquor operation in this area. I've put together a plan of operations with Councilman Carmona's input that it's my understanding he would have the city council consider as part of the approval of the site. So it's part of our ordinance. We don't use it very often. We more often use a plan of operations as part of the, by agreement, when the parties are before your honor as the liquor commissioner in some sort of disciplinary or corrective setting. And so this plan of operations I did put together with reference to other plans of operations. It's for a retail outlet and not a bar, so there are some differences from other plans of operations. But I wanted to at least give Councilman Carmona the opportunity to present a plan of operations that address the issues that the police department raised. They requested that the commission make a recommendation for denial, which is part of the normal business process. And so I would share with the council that we have denied liquor licenses on Knoxville running north as far as Knoxville and Lake, which is 1.5 miles farther north than this, request. And so our police department's telling us that we struggle in these areas with liquor uses, and that's the purpose of their denial. I don't have anything else to add other than that in these circumstances, staff presents this for the council to consider and reflects that the commission has recommended denial. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Carmona?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council Hayes, for all your help. I'll just give a quick little background on this store because it's been a little while. It's the only grocery store in the area. You'll drive around and plenty of them will say that they have groceries, but they basically just have tobacco and soda products and stuff like that. And so when this gentleman came and asked me why the Liquor Commission denied his site approval, there was several reasons. I explained all of them to him, and he wanted to know if I could help him in some way change people's minds, I guess. And so one of the main things that he did was I explained to him how that area of Knoxville is not well taken care of, and how the perception when you don't take care of your property, it really negatively impacts you and the whole neighborhood. And so he took that pretty seriously into heart, did a lot of improvements, but also I explained to him that if there was any chance of this passing, it would have to be with a strong plan of operations that really restricted the amount of alcohol that he could sell, because this is the only grocery store and I would like to see it survive. And as I've said before, it is hard to turn a profit on selling groceries alone. And so the new sheet that I have for you to see here, it'll show you just a basic picture of what it used to look like before, the improvements he's made now. which are part of the puzzle, I guess. But the main thing I wanted to show you here is all the coolers here on the bottom picture. So this is only one side of his coolers that has a bunch of food, ground beef, tortillas, a bunch of different products in it. He has another side that mirrors this cooler. He has a total of 31 doors, cooler doors, just to give you an idea of the amount of cold storage that he has there. What he is asking for and what the plan of operation stipulates that can't go above is 5 doors. So 5 out of the 31 doors that are refrigerated will be allowed to have packaged alcohol. The liquor that will potentially be for sale there will be only allowed behind the counter, which is a very small area. He was happy with the plan of operations and is happy to abide by all these rules. One of the main ones that we talked about was the setting up cameras. If this does pass, I would ask for the police department to come out and help pinpoint locations of where the cameras might be. He's agreed to pay the subscription fee or whatever it is of $900 a year to give the police department access to his cameras in case anything happened. A lot of these other things are, lighting for the parking lot. He's willing to abide by that. There's some no smoking signs, no loitering signs. But a majority of this really stipulates the cameras, the training that goes along with selling alcohol that his employees have to abide by. And let's see if I'm missing anything here. Oh, another one of the main things that because he understands the perception as well of having a liquor store and what could come with that. He said that and it's in here, but he's not going to sell any small shooters of alcohol of liquor. He's also not going to sell single serve cans of beer as well, or bottles. So it's strictly just packaged alcohol and then the liquor behind the counter. I believe that is the majority of the agreement here. I do realize that this is not conventional to happen. And I do appreciate everybody's patience with this project. But like I said, this is hopefully will be an asset to the community. And I will be the first one to call it out here if it's not working. And everybody has my commitment on that. Everybody knows I'm a very straight shooter. That's about it for my presentation, and you can scroll through all the pictures that I've had before. But I'm going to make a motion to approve this item with the new agreement that you see here, the plan of operations.
Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Euler. Discussion. And I'm going to speak first. And I see several other lights on. I just want to go back to reminding everyone of some of the details as to why the Liquor Commission recommended denial for this store to have a liquor license, as well as the police department recommending denial. And I applaud the physical improvements, cosmetic improvements that have been made to the facility, and I think that businesses should do that, especially in an area that you said needed to be improved upon. I applaud the owner for making some cosmetic improvements, but fundamentally it doesn't change the reason why the denial was recommended. So I'm going to read a few excerpts from the police department recommendation for denial. This was on January 27th. They talked about 4 gas stations, 3 convenience stores located about a half-mile radius from the site. Historically, liquor stores have led to an increase in crime, traffic, noise, litter, and similar quality of life issues, resulting in a general overall decline of a neighborhood, which would hinder the continued efforts to maintain this area of town into a stable and viable neighborhood. Furthermore, this proposed site is located in the middle of the West and East Bluff, Police District 11 and Police District 10, which are 2 of the busiest police districts in the city. From January 1st, 2025 to January 14th, 2026, the Peoria Police have responded to over 18,000 police calls for service in these 2 districts alone. Police Department feels that the addition of a liquor store in this specific area of town will only exacerbate the already high call volume in the East and West Bluffs and further strain police resources. Additionally, the Peoria Police Department believes that the close proximity of this proposed site to numerous children's home properties in and around 2130 Knoxville, as well as the Peoria Public Schools Knoxville Center Alternative School, located at 2628 North Knoxville Avenue, is extremely worrisome. Finally, and this is from police, site approvals being location-specific or not owner-specific. They have proven extremely difficult to revoke once they're approved. So accordingly, the police department recommends denial of this site. I reached out to get some updated information through the police analyst. She put together a whole report of the types of crimes that occur in this area, for a radius of a half-mile from the location. And what was identified, that the calls for service in that half-mile radius of 2411 North Knoxville, year-to-date from 2025 to 2026, the total calls in that zone has increased from 876 to 1,654, almost doubled from last year to this year. Why would we want to put a liquor store in this area when the service crimes have almost doubled? I just think that if we saw crime going down, maybe consider, but service calls are going up, and that's a serious concern for me. For those reasons, I support the denial recommended by the police department. I support the denial recommended by the Liquor Commission. And I just, again, cosmetic improvements are good, but it's not going to be an asset to the community to do this. It's not going to be an asset. Councilmember Vespa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do agree with what the mayor said, and in saying that she echoed the police department. I do appreciate the proprietor's efforts in improving the property, and I appreciate putting together that plan of operation with restricted hours and restricted sales of alcohol. But public safety trumps both of those. Unfortunately, yes, there's a lot of police calls in the vicinity, and it's very close not only to children's home, but also neighborhoods. And putting a liquor store near them, I don't think that's fair to them. I don't think most of us would like liquor stores nearby. Granted, I know I live in the Twin Towers, I have some bars, but I kind of assume that risk by living downtown. but, these residential neighborhoods, I don't think they need it that close. We did just approve the tobacco license up north. I saw that as different. I do think there's a positive correlation between tobacco and crime, just like there is liquor stores and crime, but that is a different situation because that's not near a neighborhood. The old Chantilly Lace, it's not near a neighborhood, and the police calls in that vicinity are not as numerous as they are in this vicinity. So there are studies saying that this can exacerbate crime. For that reason, I will support the denial. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Welcome. Councilmember Gordon Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I echo everything you guys said. I want to clarify some of the language being used, and I had to look it up to make sure I was correct, right? This is not really a grocery store. I was in there today, and it's really a convenience store. So I think we need to be clear on that. Grocery stores have bulk and a variety of items. Convenience stores are quick, and it's in and out, and you can grab a hot dog or one can of soda. And I saw that happen today. I think that the main thing is public safety. I am so concerned about the rise in crime, particularly amongst our youth. That is an area that is highly populated with families and with young people, with students. And to be very honest, I stood there and I looked out the door and I faced Beverly Street. And the first thing that came to mind for me was the young man who lost his life right there. And all the years of working as a 911 dispatcher and all the calls that I took in particular and that we took, and apparently they're still taking, of violence in this area, I think we have to be very careful. I am all for supporting things when they make sense. This just doesn't make sense to me to add alcohol, to add liquor to this environment. It took so long. I mean, these numbers are low. I know there's been an increase in the numbers, the data that you were given, but that's low compared to what it was 10 years ago. It was horrible. And we really worked as a city very hard to reduce those numbers and give folks some sense of peace. You couldn't even walk down the street safely. And so for that reason, again, and I appreciate the work that they've done. It does look nice on the outside, and it's very neat on the inside. But again, public safety does trump that. So for that reason, I will be supporting the denial. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Riggenbach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The 3rd District is directly across the street from Knoxville, from this location. So Councilman Carmona's included me in many of the discussions here, and I appreciate the leadership he's taken on this. And when he brought this to my attention, my first reaction is no, for many of the reasons that were already mentioned. When he explained to me a little bit more about the owner's vision and the way he's been running the business, I got curious as to why he was so interested in this. We talk about food deserts all the time, and admittedly, this isn't much more than a convenience store right now, but the guy does have milk, eggs, fresh bread, cheese, some of the essentials, cold cuts, and he's got the commitment, and Councilman Carmona judiciously did not ask for a written commitment, but his plan is to have produce as well and to make this a neighborhood grocery store, if you will. Well, we all know talk is cheap, and let's see what he can do. Well, I drive up and down Knoxville every day to work, and I've just been smiling as I watch the progress of the transformation of the physical plant. I'm a little concerned about the viability of some of the plants he put in, but I think those yuccas and the tall grasses will do well regardless of the weather. But take a look, first of all, at the plan of operation. I think this is where the rubber meets the road. It will close at midnight on weekends and 11 o'clock during the week. I can't remember what the Walgreen hours were there, but they were similar hours, as I recall. The limiting the actual alcohol that can be sold was something that I was adamant about, and kudos to Corporation Council and the councilman for limiting it to such a small percentage of the actual floor space. Cameras, a camera system to record persons or activities on both the entrances and exits and the common areas. So there will be cameras there keeping track of who comes and goes at all times. It just goes on and on talking about the amount of scrutiny that's going to be required. The licensee, the owner is going to be responsible to clean the trash and rubbish. Now, we expect most business owners would do that on their own volition, but we all know that doesn't happen. But here, we have an agreement in writing that he's going to do that. And again, I drive up and down there every day. I'll keep an eye on that as well. Having new light, bright LED lighting on the outside of the building in the parking lot is something that will also be a deterrent, to the loitering and firearms and such. But probably the thing that convinced me, because the gentleman that owns it now seems trustworthy. I appreciate his vision to providing just a small oasis in the food desert. But the conditions of this plan of operation shall apply to the business and all of its officers, managers, members, blah, blah, blah. Transfer of ownership shall not rescind this plan of operation. Any future owner shall be subject to the same conditions set forth therein. So with that work being done, I'm willing to take a chance. We have the public safety issues, of course. I think they're addressed in this plan of operation. We've got the food desert issue that this will potentially be a remedy for. So I'm cautious. I'm nervous, but I'm willing to give this owner the opportunity to see what he can do to provide that neighborhood with a service and not a detriment. So with that, I will be supporting the motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am, as a district that already deals with some of these issues, I'm very reluctant to see something like this go in that community. I drive up and down that street too, and in the mornings I see children walking to and from school. I've had conversations with the director at the children's home and heard about some of the good work going on over there and the progress they hope to continue. And quite frankly, I think this would be a dangerous precedent because we've got stores across the street in what used to be the old Beals Cleaners, and we've got another one down the street. What are you going to say to them when they all come running, asking for liquor licenses after this one, if it were approved? I think it's a dangerous precedent. And once you get these stores open, they might say they're going to clean their lot up and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. It's a constant battle. I see it. And I just think this would be a dangerous precedent. I think it would hurt the years and years of progress that have been made to stabilize those communities, Madam Mayor. And that's been going on for longer than you've been on this council, Councilmember Carmona. And I think to allow anybody to have a liquor license in that area would just do dangerous harm to all of the work that's taken place. And I've gotten calls from a few people saying, we don't want this in our neighborhood. Think about the children. Think about everybody that have worked hard, people like Mr. Combs, the East Bluff Neighborhood Center, and all those agencies that have worked tirelessly for decades to try to stabilize that neighborhood. This is not what they want in that community, and I will not support it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a tough one for me. First, I am thrilled that I don't know what all is involved. We have good police work. We have a lot of, I don't know, therapeutic help. Our crime rate continues to go down. And as Councilwoman Gordon Young said, it used to be a lot worse, and it used to be a lot worse in this neighborhood. For the neighbors, I'm sure that many of the neighbors, the good neighbors, the fine people of the neighborhood, buy beer or buy liquor or whatever, and they can go here and get quick food or whatever, but no liquor. And so they have to hop if they're walking. If they're in the car, why, it may not make a whole lot of difference. I think there are a lot of controls here in placement. There are a lot of controls in how much is there. There are a lot of controls in the plan of operations. This is a commercial area. Most of us live back in neighborhoods where commercial isn't allowed. On Knoxville, it's allowed. And major streets where I live, it's allowed, but not next door to me. I'm on the side of allowing this. There is one thing, Madam Mayor, that you mentioned in the police report that I didn't quite understand. You talked about the number of gas stations and convenience stores in the area. If I may ask, what point was that making?
It was part of the letter that was submitted by the police.
Yes, I know, but why is that brought up as a negative for this item?
I think it was relating to the type of store that we have, that it's like a convenience store, things that you can possibly buy at gas stations or other convenience stores. That's my assumption, that there are 3 convenience stores already within a half mile. There are 4 gas stations within that area where you can shop, buy quick items.
But
that's my assumption.
You can't buy liquor at any of those. I mean, I don't understand the point. Maybe it's not important, but you can't buy liquor at the, okay. Anyhow, I like the idea of only a few doors for beer, and you can't sell singles. I like the idea of all the hard liquor behind the counter. Anyway, I'm going to favor this, and thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Member Allen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I recall when I first got elected, there was a proposal for someone to take over the old, and I might be dating myself, the old Lums on Knoxville. And I remember advocating for that particular location because I knew the owner that wanted to move in there, and she's an entrepreneur. She's got a great spirit. But I remember there was a lot of pushback from the neighborhood because they were going to be selling alcohol, and that particular neighborhood, it has some vulnerabilities. And so ultimately the council at that time, we voted it down. And although I wanted that entrepreneurial opportunity for that young lady, I had to vote against that young lady because I had to think of the neighborhood. And this is kind of where I am on this. I've been torn on this, and I've talked to Councilman Carmona and talked to Councilman Riggenbach yesterday on this. And I respect the owner investing. I drive past Knoxville and seeing it go from what it was. And he almost brought your AI generated image to life there, Councilman. It looks good, but the neighborhood still has opportunity for improvement before we can introduce liquor to it. And one of my mentors told me you can't legislate morality, and I understand that, but I think that when we have responsibilities and we have opportunities to improve neighborhoods and understand the vulnerabilities that exist, I think we have a responsibility to do the right thing. So again, I appreciate the advocacy from Councilman Carmona and Councilman Riggenbach putting the plan of operation in and doing his best to advocate for this business owner. I cannot support this in good faith tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Riggenbach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just respond to some of these concerns by saying that I understand, and like I said, I was very conflicted, or I was against it, if you ask Councilman Carmona, when the idea first was floated. But talking about providing something in the food desert caught my attention. Again, words are cheap. I understand that, but this is not a liquor store. This is not, I walk in and out of those other stores within a half mile of there, sometimes just to kind of smile. They're apples and oranges. They're apples and oranges. I can't believe I'm actually advocating and arguing for liquor sales, but the percentage that this is allowed is so diminuous that I think it deserves a second look. And to call this a liquor store is just not fair. To call it a grocery store at this point is probably a little bit of a stretch, admittedly, but I really think with the plan of operation and that any future owners will be subject to the same conditions set forth herein. For me, that clinched the deal. We have a responsible proprietor trying to do what's right for the neighborhood, and I want to respect that, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Carmona.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, everybody, for your feedback and your input. You're not wrong. I understand why everybody has a reluctance, even Councilman Riggenbach, when he did at the beginning as well. What I'd like to do, because when the application was submitted, and it got denied for the site approval, I had asked what kind of feedback the neighborhood gave, and there was very little. So unlike the other times where places have applied in that area and there was a big pushback to it, this was a little bit different. I was at a neighborhood association meeting last week. I told them about this. It's close to them. And they were all actually excited because they said, it looks nice in there, I'm gonna go check it out. And not a single person came up to me and said they didn't want it there. I have another Association meeting on Friday, which is the closest one to that in my district. It's the heart of Peoria. The neighborhood association is being revamped right now, so their meetings are sporadic, and they just basically just barely started. So I would like to make a motion I would like to remove my motion. Is that possible, Council Hayes? To withdraw my motion?
May I respond, Madam Mayor?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Someone who moves is entitled to withdraw their motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Hayes. I'd like to move to defer my motion till the next council meeting to have time to speak to the additional neighborhood association and then potentially get into District 3 and field their concerns and then come back to council with a report.
Okay. Motion withdrawn. Councilmember Gordon Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of additional comments. It is correct that this is a food desert. And unfortunately, we have too many food deserts in this city. A food desert doesn't need liquor, it needs food. And I think we need to be clear on like what we're saying and how it's really going to impact our residents, many of whom have contacted me, whether it was, the shots fired near their home or in their home over the years. And also, I had an opportunity to talk to customers that went into this business, and I said, "Where do you buy your alcohol?" And they, without hesitation, said, "On Prospect." And I got that answer from 3 different people. Not that I sat there and polled numerous people, but I did ask. There's no alcohol in here. Where do you get it, right? So there's access. It may not be within walking distance, but it seems to me for people that drink alcohol, they've been able to obtain it thus far. And I just, again, do not think this is a great idea, particularly with the suggestions from the police department and the liquor commission. Again, I know you're withdrawing your motion, but I am highly concerned about this one. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilman Carmona, you want to defer?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. Yes, I didn't know if I had said I moved to defer or not because there was a second, so I just wanted to make sure.
Defer to the next council meeting?
Yes.
Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Euler. Discussion, Councilmember Kelly?
I was going to second the motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to defer until the next council meeting. Please cast your ballots. A motion passes with 1 nay. Jackson. Madam Clerk?
If there's no additional unfinished business, we are now at new business.
Is there any new business? Any new business? Was your light on, Councilman Riggenbach? Sorry about that. Councilman Riggenbach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I got a couple items to bring up, but first and foremost, I would like to ask Leah to come forward, please. Assistant Community Development Director Leah Allison. I know she requested that we make no official proclamation, but I think 25 years plus of service deserves a little recognition from the Horseshoe, and just our appreciation for the integrity in which you've operated all these years, the excellence and the work that you've done, and the institutional knowledge that you have. At the last council meeting, you came up with that binder that the manager and I joked we need to have that bronzed or something. That should go in the time capsule. And actually, it shouldn't. We need it. But I just want to say, and I think I speak for everybody around this Horseshoe, how much we appreciate what you've done. for the city, for the community development department, and you're going to be missed very much. So
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. This is very much a surprise and not necessary, and I really can't thank you all enough. It's been an amazing, fast journey, and I appreciate everything. I've enjoyed working here so much. As I've expressed to Joe and the city manager, it's been hard to let go. So thank you for the kind words, and I really deeply appreciate everything, and I thank you, and I just can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
The other thing briefly, if I may, Madam Mayor, is I'm sure everybody's noticed the Civic Center looks a little bit differently today than it did at our last council meeting. And work obviously is well underway on the new arcade. And the other major project on the books for this year is the ice plant. So as soon as the Rivermen win the cup, they'll be able to start tearing out the ice and get that new plant installed. So that's some real good news for the community, I think, across the board. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other new business? Madam Clerk?
We are now at citizens' opportunity to address the city council. We had 5 comment cards.
Okay. The first is Jeff Kobus.
Clock. Leah has been a pleasure to work with as a developer, somebody who has developed something in yours.
She still hears you.
She was a pleasure to work with all these years, and we've done a lot of development work over the years, and she was wonderful. So I echo all of your comments for Leah. So, all right. Gosh, the clock's going. Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, and staff. My name is Jeff Kolbus. I'm the current president of Illinois Realtors, and I am a past president of the Peoria Area Association of Realtors. My wife and I own Remax Traders Unlimited here in Peoria, and our family has been in the real estate business in the Peoria area for 3 generations, since 1937. I am here tonight to speak to the comments you made at the last council meeting on the 14th related to the governor's Building Up Illinois Development, or BUILD plan, which is state legislation that has been proposed to address the housing crisis that we are experiencing. It is an undisputable fact that we have a housing crisis. Illinois is short 142,000 housing units, and we need to build 225,000 units in the next 5 years just to keep up with demand. Peoria, has a housing crisis. In fact, in the last 5 years alone, the fall in housing sales that has resulted from this housing crisis has cost Peoria alone over $280 million in gross economic impact. That is the equivalent of our town not selling a single home for about 14 straight months. To give you some more perspective about how short we are in building new homes, we would need to triple new home construction every single year for 5 straight years just to meet existing demand. As realtors, we have been advocating for policies to expand housing opportunities statewide. The BUILD plan, which includes some of the initiatives that we have been working on for a long time, will ease housing costs for everyone while protecting home values and preserving neighborhood character and communities. We provided you with a document with some of our points. We've been working on this for a long time. Since I don't have time for many more remarks, I will simply address some of the concerns that were expressed at the last council meeting. First, you said the BUILD plan will take away local control. That is not so. This legislation does not eliminate municipal zoning, period. The BUILD plan does not eliminate the city's ability to regulate design, safety, and building standards for housing in Peoria. The BUILD plan's simple call is that our design standards must be clear and objective and not more restrictive for middle housing types than for single-family homes. The city still controls its zoning map and zoning districts. The city will still have control over bulk, height, setbacks, yard, and design standards. This legislation does not erode or take away the power the city has by way of its comprehensive plan. This legislation does not require you to eliminate all parking minimums. It does reduce the number of spaces that a developer or builder must include as part of their development. Unnecessary parking adds cost to a development. However, if a developer wants to build a parking lot, they can. But if they feel their potential buyers, owners, and tenants would not need or demand extra parking, they can also choose to limit it. Thirdly, on the topic of ADUs, or accessory dwelling units, this legislation says that cities must permit ADUs where single-family homes are permitted. However, the city still is allowed to regulate that unit using the same standards that the city has set for single-family homes, which means the only way an ADU will be put in a side yard, as the mayor suggested last time, is that if the city would allow for that. The proposed law does not state that. Fourth, regarding third-party plan reviews, it is an undisputable fact that local decisions often involved arbitrary and unpredictable permitting requirements, lengthy permitting and inspection processes, all of which add more cost to the building process. Practitioners know this is an ongoing issue in Peoria. The build plan allows for a third-party review only when a city deadlines are missed. It does not change building codes or municipal enforcement authority. 7 other states have similar laws already on the books, while several others have laws permitting municipalities to use third-party review. I only have 13 seconds. I'll skip. I'll skip that too. There are groups who oppose the build plan who are spreading misinformation about it. Meanwhile, 81% of Illinois voters say housing is getting less affordable, and over a third have considered moving out of the state to find housing they can afford.
Thank you, Mr. Kobus. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, Dusty Moultrie.
My phone is powering up. It was low on battery. I just want to address something that I've seen tonight. First of all, I want to give a big recognition to Dr. Gordon Young and Andre Allen for always sticking up for the people in the community and not your self-serving projects. So I, as a community member, recognize that and just want to acknowledge that. Something else that I noticed tonight listening is we are a little behind on times. If we're going to do a public hearing, how many people get the Journal Star? I guarantee you, if they're 40 and under, they're not going to see a public hearing notice. And if they're in one district, the likelihood that they will see that is little to none. So that may be something that the city wants to address as far as public hearing notices, because putting it in the newspaper is kind of behind times. Now, the reason why I am here, I know my time is ticking, sorry. Madam Mayor, Council, and Chief, I come before you today as a community advocate, a grandmother, a therapist, and a concerned Peoria citizen. Peoria is in a community health crisis. The last thing that this horseshoe should be approving is alcohol, my opinion. We have a health crisis. Peoria is not alone. Violence among youth and young adults has become a community health problem. However, as in any health crisis, it's what you do to eradicate the problem that matters. Silence amongst leadership is acceptance to those with watchful eyes and listening ears. I want to give another prop to Chief E. When he first started, he was very much vocal on social media, did a lot of social media. That is the generation that people are in. If it doesn't come to social media, even if it's not your intention in leadership, it's not getting heard, and silence is acceptance. With that being said, I also have to commend again Dr. Allen, Dr. Gordon Young, for being a voice in the community. We live in a society driven from social media, and it can be a pivotal tool in keeping the community informed, aware, and acknowledged on things that are happening in the community. Next, I would like to give my bit of advice. We have had loitering ordinances in the past. They may still exist, however, they have not been enforced. The mall has just established an ordinance forbidding youth under 16 without a parent. Six Flags has also done the same thing in many states. We all can agree we need more parental involvement in the community, along with a decrease in violence, and to reassure the public that it is safe to be in public places in the community. I feel that we are in times where unless a youth is working a job, any youth under the age of 17 needs to be accompanied by adult in public spaces such as parks, riverfronts, malls, etc. That groups of more than 3 should not be allowed in a given space unless involved in pro-social activities that would indeed be supervised by adults. This is about public community health and safety. Glen Oak has a beautiful playground that I, as a Gigi, would love to take my 3 and 1-year-old granddaughters. However, it's my job to protect them, and I can't take them. How unfair is that? I have stated this at other meetings and in other rooms. We are missing a lot of marks to help heal this community. The next thing is the huge fights that are happening in the low-income housing spaces. The children that are witnessing these fights and often getting involved is unacceptable. We are watching trauma created right in front of our eyes. The housing authorities, the city, or whomever is in charge of what is acceptable in those spaces can't sit around until the next big brawl or the next person injured or child involved.
Next, we have Kathy McNeil.
Back. My name's Kathy McNeil, and I want to thank you, Madam Mayor, council persons, and city government for hearing me. I want the best for all of Peoria and all of the people of Peoria. See, I'm not ready here. Let's see. I'm here as a member of the Detweiler Playground Marina Protectors. You may already be aware, I've spoke about this before. We ask that the city commit to no parcels east of the rail line in the Detweiler Marina area will receive any intensified zoning classification beyond the current zoning. And I just want to clarify, some people may be confused. I'm not talking about Detweiler Park way out there. I'm talking about, it's called Detweiler Marina and Playground, not too far from Spring Street, down farther towards the river. This area should be protected from further industrial encroachment and zoning changes that would increase incompatible uses next to established neighborhoods and valuable public riverfront space. We ask the city commit to not vacating any portion of Caroline Street. It provides important public access, visibility, and connectivity to the Illinois River and surrounding neighborhood. Preserving the street is essential to maintaining public access to the last remaining location where residents can directly reach and experience the riverfront. I'm pleading with you to respect the desires by many of us to preserve the state of wildlife and nature viewing experiences. Where else in this city are there places along the river shores for the people who strive to enjoy Mother Earth? A place without commotion, without industrial disturbance, without excess noise, without any disrespect of the wildlife corridor that bird watchers cherish, and the variety of plants and flowers that are appreciated and enhanced with beautiful changes of the seasons. We have sought to gain support, and so far a positive response has come from our Peoria Park District Board. A growing group of residents from the Detweiler Marina neighborhood and surrounding community are calling on the Illinois Attorney General to investigate the management and governance of the Detweiler Playground Trust, citing a pattern of concerns including minimal revenue from valuable riverfront property, significant expenditures without corresponding public benefit, potential conflicts of interest, and actions inconsistent with the donors. That's Thomas Detweiler from 1947. And actions inconsistent with his original intent. Residents have begun submitting formal complaints requesting state oversight. The group is urging the Attorney General's office to review whether the trust is fulfilling its fiduciary duties, reassess the basis of prior approvals if warranted, and take corrective action to ensure the land remains accessible for public use as originally intended. So you're probably going to hear more about this. I'm just happy and thankful that I can speak and that you're hearing me. Denise.
Thank you, Ms. McNeil. Heather Polkinghorn, Stacy.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council of Peoria. My name is Heather Stacy. I am the Director of Outreach for Lula Peoria, and I am also a person with lived experience in both chronic unsheltered homelessness and chaotic substance use disorder. I speak to you today from both professional responsibility and personal understanding. I want to address the current citywide camping ordinance. At its core, the ordinance tells people they cannot exist in only places available to them without offering any realistic, accessible alternatives. And that is the issue I'm asking you to seriously consider. Because the truth is simple, if there is nowhere for someone to go, then moving them is not a solution, it's simply displacement. Every day, outreach workers like myself are in the community building trust, helping individuals access services, coordinating care, and quite literally working to keep people alive. But that work becomes significantly harder when individuals are forced to relocate every couple of weeks. When people are moved, they lose connection to outreach teams, they miss medical and mental health appointments, they become harder to locate in emergencies, they are pushed into further isolation. This ordinance does not reduce homelessness, it makes it dangerous and invisible. I want to speak to the emotional and mental toll this takes, not just on those experiencing homelessness, but on the service providers trying to support them. Imagine finally building trust with someone who has every reason not to trust systems, only to have them disappear because they were told to move again. Imagine looking someone in the eye when they ask you, "Where am I supposed to go?" and having no answers for them. That is the reality of what we face every single day. And for those experiencing homelessness, the impact is even greater. Being forced to constantly move creates chronic instability, fear, and trauma. It strips people of what little sense of safety and dignity that they have. We're not asking for permission for people to live without accountability. We're asking for policies that reflect reality and humanity. Policies that recognize shelter space is limited, affordable housing is scarce, mental health and addiction recovery are ongoing journeys, not overnight fixes. And I would be remiss not to speak to something many in this room hold personally: faith. For those who identify as Christian, I ask you to reflect on what it means to you to live in the image of God, the Imago Dei. Jesus himself lived without permanent shelter. He walked alongside the poor, the marginalized, and the outcasts, not by pushing them away, but by meeting them where they are. We are called to love our neighbors, to feed our neighbors, to clothe our neighbors, and to provide shelter to our neighbors. If our policies do not reflect those values, then we must ask ourselves, what are we really doing here? I'm asking this council not to enforce this ordinance, to lead with compassion, with evidence-based solutions, and with a real commitment to a real pathway out of homelessness. Work alongside the outreach teams that are already here in Peoria doing the work. Design safe spaces if necessary, but do not continue to cycle that simply moves people along with nowhere to land. Because at the end of the day, this is not about camps. This is about people, residents of the city of Peoria. People who deserve dignity, people who deserve stability, and people who deserve the chance to come inside, not just to be pushed further outside. So Lula's still here. We're still doing the work. We have people experiencing unsheltered homelessness and suffering in the shadows of the city. I would encourage you all to work with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Casey Bernard.
Hello, everyone, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to remind everyone yet again that we are still facing an unsheltered crisis that is only growing. Not only does Peoria still have its chronically homeless population that have the most barriers to getting permanent housing, we have lost a lot of our supportive housing units. I'm sure we are all painfully aware that while we heard it was between 5 to 10 people going into unsheltered homelessness, the actual number was closer to 40. That, of course, pushed people to the streets, some of whom have not experienced homelessness in years to decades. A lot of the success Peoria was able to claim through the motel project and the 100-day challenge was lost. Unfortunately, a lot of those participants lost their housing through no fault of their own due to the federal funding cuts, and it has resulted in re-traumatizing and breaking trust with service and housing providers. Since it was our largest mental health housing building that closed in tangent with the trauma of being returned to the streets, it has amplified the symptoms of the conditions that qualified them for supportive housing in the first place. I think we are all aware with no place to go, they chose to stay in the neighborhood they are most familiar with. which means more downtown businesses have been forced to navigate these issues. I have heard several of you say that you want to rebuild downtown Peoria. I support that. I too am a woman of a certain age, and I remember when it was popping and brought money to our community. But to deal with this particular situation, we need a solution, not an ordinance. I need all of you to realize that our homeless crisis is not better. It is not lessened. You have, with the ordinance, forced people to hide or face criminalization. They are still here and they still have no options right now. Shelters are still over capacity. We are facing more of a housing shortage than when we all first met. I also have heard some of you say that to lift the ordinance forces people to sleep in tents. That is patently false. They are already forced to sleep in tents. What it does is causes more harm on Peoria's most vulnerable citizens and taxes the already overworked service providers. My team helps them move when they are discovered. We are all exhausted. I would invite all of you to hike with me to deliver cases of water and food, basic life necessities, to people who are forced to hide, who we all know have no other options right now. It is brutal on my team and inhumane to our homeless neighbors. Sometimes I think Lula does its work a little too well. Because of the work we do, it mitigates a lot of the complaints that we hear from businesses, community members, and even some of you in council. And then, unfortunately, I think it gives the illusion that the issue is not as bad as it is. I am here to tell all of you it is bad, and it is only getting worse. I just went to San Francisco. I stayed in the Tenderloin, which for those of you who don't know, it's known for its unsheltered populations. All I could think of is how lucky we are here. We do not have the numbers here that they do there, even though the numbers here are even growing. We can solve this problem together. I believe in this city, and I believe in all of you. We've worked well together. I believe in our ability to get Peoria to functional zero. We need and are capable of getting a low barrier transitional shelter, or we can rescind the ordinance. If we do not get ahead of this as we lose more federal funding for housing and units, the issues the business owners have brought to our attention will only continue to grow. We've seen more utilization of the jail, EMS, hospitals, and PPD, camp cleanups, etc. It would save more taxpayer dollars to give them shelter. The data bears this out. So not only is this a compassionate choice, it is the fiscally responsible one as well. Supporting our most vulnerable and least resourced community members will only help Peoria as a whole. I'm sure we are all familiar with the Gandhi quote, "A society is most commonly measured by how it treats its weakest, most vulnerable, or least powerful members." We can and should all do better. And I don't want this problem to continue to spiral. And guys, it is spiraling. I am boots on the ground. We are first line workers. I am telling you, chest out, it is spiraling. And we are going to lose control of the situation if we do not step up as a community. Thank you for your time, always.
We are now at executive session.
No executive.
So now we are at adjournment.
Can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilman Sears, seconded by Councilmember Allen. Please cast your ballots. Thank you for your service.